We are a Unitarian Universalist community inspired by our principles and boldly growing compassion, justice, and joy. Thought I was done. If you would join with me in the chalice lighting as Jonipher lights the chalice for us. We light this chalice with the embers of compassion. We light this chalice with the torch of justice. We light this chalice with the radiance of joy.
I need all the hands I can get, so I have to use this. All right. So I'm Katie, your Director of Lifespan Religious Education, and you might notice today I'm not in my Sunday school attire, and that is because these are the official pants of people who do work, right? So there's a cleaning out of the storeroom upstairs, so I wear these as an official mark of my workingness, okay? So if anybody would like to come join us, you're more than welcome to after service. All right, at this point, if you would come on down, if you're young or old and would like to sit up close for our story. Today we are going to hear the book And the Good Brown Earth by Kathy Henderson. When Graham went to the vegetable patch, Joe came too. It was nearly winter. "Now's digging time," said Graham, and she picked up her spade and dug that ground into big old lumps. Joe dug too. He made a hole and a heap and a squashy place for squelching in. And the good brown earth got on with doing what the good brown earth does best. Next time Graham went to the vegetable patch, Joe came too, and there was snow on the ground. Joe ran and jumped and slid and whooped. Graham stood and looked. "Now's thinking time," said Graham, thinking about all the things in her gardening book. Joe thought too. Joe thought up a snowman. Next time Graham went to the vegetable patch, Joe came too, and there was spring in the air. "Now's planting time," said Graham, and she raked out the loose earth, smooth as breadcrumbs, and planted seeds in long straight rows. Joe planted too. Lots of seeds, here and there and who knows where. And the good brown earth got on with doing what the good brown earth does best. Next time Graham went to the vegetable patch, Joe came too, and the birds were singing, and the trees were flowering, and the rain and the sun were chasing each other across the sky. "Now's watching time," Graham said, keeping an eye on those hungry birds, and she made a scarecrow and stuck it in the ground. Joe watched too. "Graham, Graham," he shouted, "there are green spikes coming up." Next time Graham and Joe went to the vegetable patch, it was green all over. "Now's weeding time," said Graham, and she picked up her long-handled hoe and grubbed up all those weeds between her vegetable rows. Joe pulled up a few weeds too. At least he hoped they were weeds. Then he rolled in the long grass and sang. Next time Graham and Joe went to the vegetable patch, it was hot, hot, hot. The plants were drooping and the earth was dry. "Uh-oh," said Graham. "Now's watering time." And she hooked up the hose to the old tap and ran it on the plants, sweet as rain. Joe watered too, himself mostly, and he gave Graham the second ripe strawberry. And the good brown earth got on with doing what the good brown earth does best, day after golden day, until the next time Graham went to the vegetable patch, and Joe came too, of course, what did they find? Oh, wow, oh, wow, oh, wow, vegetables all over. There were Graham's plants standing tall and ripe and lush. And there was Joe's, higgledy-piggledy-tangly fantastic. "Now's gathering time," said Graham, filling her basket. And Joe gathered too, beans and greens, ladybugs and grasshoppers, dandelions and fat tomatoes. Graham and Joe loaded up the wheelbarrow and set off home, ready for feasting time. And the good brown earth got on with doing what the good brown earth does best. And with that, we will sing our children upstairs.
Yes, please make a bridge as we sing our keiki off to their classes. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go.
Howard Zinn was an American historian, author, playwright, and social activist. He said, "What we choose to emphasize will determine our lives. If we see only the worst, it destroys our capacity to do something. If we remember those times and places where people have behaved magnificently, it gives us the energy to act and at least the hope of the possibility to send this spinning top of a world in a different direction."
Please join me in this responsive reading. For the lives that continue, haunted by the pain of absence. For what was there and is no longer. As we cast these ashes into the troubled waters of our times. For the ways the disaster deepened societal inequalities. For those times when we have closed ourselves off from compassion. For the selfishness that sets us, dissolving the ashes of our grief and the hardness of our hearts. O cleansing waters, wash us all toward justice and peace. Today we're going to go on a journey to Haiti. And I don't know, well, I probably need to show this map because even my own dear mother doesn't know where Haiti is. I can't even begin to tell you how many comments I got recently that says, "Be careful you don't get Ebola while you're in Haiti." And I'm thinking to myself, do you even know that is as far off from West Africa that you could possibly think of? But nonetheless, Haiti is in the middle of the Caribbean Sea out there, as you can see in the map, very close to Cuba and not that far from Florida either. And Haiti is right next to the Dominican Republic. In fact, they share pretty much just one main island together. However, politically, economically, and language-wise, these two cultures could not be further apart from one another. And as many of you know, on January 16th, 2010, there was a 7.0 magnitude earthquake that hit near the town of Port-au-Prince. As you can see here, that's where the Quake epicenter was. And I must say, up till this very day, the rebuilding and the reconstruction of Haiti has been extremely slow. There was still a bunch of rubble when we were driving around, and not even the national or presidential palace has been fully rebuilt yet, 4 years later. 4.5, almost 5 years later. And so this is the situation that we find Haiti in. And it probably comes as not a shocker to most of you that Haiti is one of the poorest countries in the Western Hemisphere, if not the poorest. And Haiti has had a long history of corrupt governments and military coups and overthrow after overthrow after overthrow. So while they may have rid themselves of the French back during the early part of the 19th century, they haven't been able to fully rid themselves of the debt that has been accrued over the years. And it wasn't very helpful either that when the French pulled out, they still charged the remaining inhabitants of what was supposedly lost from the plantations. So the Haitian government has been repaying the French government for decades, if not for centuries, the supposed debt that they owe them. And years later, back in 1915, I don't know how many of you know this, but the US military, as in the Marines, went to Haiti and marched straight into the central bank and just made an illegal withdrawal of 500,000 US dollars at that time, which in current currency is approximately 10 million or so. So over the years, Haiti has been raped, pillaged, plundered by nation after nation, by outside forces and outside powers. No wonder it's in the shape that it's in today. And many may say that Haiti really has a broken system. Well, here's what Laurent Dubois had to say. We actually had to read his book prior to going to Haiti. It's called Haiti, the Aftershocks of History. He says Haiti is often described as a quote-unquote failed state. In fact, though, Haiti's state has been quite successful at doing what it was set up to do, preserve power for a small group of people. So even till today, there's a very tiny minority that has held on and preserved that power in Haiti. Kind of depressing, isn't it? Well, this is when the Unitarian Universalists stepped in and said, just like most of the other nonprofits who stepped in right after the earthquake and said, what can we do to help the people of Haiti? And so the Unitarian Universalist Association, along with the Unitarian Universalist Services Committee, formed what is now known as the Unitarian Universalist College of Social Justice. Because goodness knows we can't have too many organizations, right, within the UU system. So this organization was formed a couple years ago to put together journeys to countries where there's recoveries that are needed and places where they're still going through some transitions and some rebuilding, including New Orleans after the aftermath of Katrina, and including India, and also we recently put together a journey to Nogales, Mexico, and we call this the Border Links Projects, to work on immigration justice over there. So the UU College of Social Justice, which I'm trained to be a program leader for, has engaged on these journeys to be in eye-to-eye partnerships to make sure that our relationship is based on our principles of justice. One of the groups that we partnered with very early on in Haiti, and by the way, can you guess as to how much we raised during the first year after the earthquake hit Haiti? We raised $2 million just from the UU Services Committee alone. And overall, $1.8 billion was raised to help Haiti recover. And so we decided to partner with a group in Haiti called the Mouvement Paysan Papai, or MPP, as it's also known. And the gentleman you see here is a guy by the name of Jean-Baptiste Chavan. He's the head of MPP for the past 42 years. In fact, he was the founding director of this organization. And Chavan almost became a priest, a Catholic priest. But a funny thing happened on the way to seminary, as they say. He found a calling instead to serve the poorest among the poor in rural parts of Haiti. And he thought that's where the hope is. It's not necessarily in urban areas, but here in the farmlands, there must be a better way. There must be a sustainable model for Haiti's economy so that it does not have to depend on foreign goods and foreign products. Indeed, today, the figure is something like 95% of the goods are imported from outside of Haiti, including some from the Dominican, I can't even say that word, the Dominican Republic next door. So it reminds me of Hawaii, actually, where 80 to 85% of our products are from somewhere else, usually carried here by Matson and Young Brothers ships, right, from China or wherever we get them from. So in that way, there were some similarities as we were going through the process of hearing about their story. And what we decided to invest our money on with MPP is to build what are known as eco-villages. So there's 6 villages built so far, and each of them are uniquely named, shall we say. This village is, smartly enough, called Village 1. And Village 1 was built 4 years ago, and as you can see on the top of the community center here, there's 10 solar panels. These photovoltaics are enough to power the entire village, which consists of 10 families who live in 10 different homes. And so it's quite a luxury. I can't even begin to explain what a luxury it is to have electricity running into your home. Because in 5 of the other villages, there's no such thing. And so the kids have to study in the dark at night, or they just can't study or read at all, right? But the kids in this village were able to do so thanks to the solar panels that have been put up. And granted, these solar panels are actually not that expensive because at the MPP headquarters, they make the solar panels themselves. So they figured out the technology for how to do it, but they still need to import the actual panels. And so the whole project for the whole village only costs about $6,000 US. So that's quite amazing, and yet the other villages at this point can't even afford to do that. So this is what one of the villages, or one of the homes in the newer villages look like. This is taken from Village 6. As you can tell in the background too, it's a very scenic, rustic view of the landscape of Haiti. And this community, by the way, is in the central part of Haiti. It's in an area called Hinche. So it's spelled Hinche. And it's about a 3 to 3.5 hour drive from Port-au-Prince. And these are some of the villagers who live in the community. And you'll be interested to know, perhaps, that these folks are from Village 5, but 3 of these women actually came from Village 1. So we started asking them, why did you move from Village 1 to Village 5? Because don't you have everything you need in Village 1? You have water and electricity. Why would you want to move to Village 5, which hasn't been completely built up yet? And you want to know the reason why? Their husbands got into a fight with each other, and they couldn't get along, and there was conflict. And so, yeah, even with a tiny village of 10 families, there's politics and there's conflict involved, right? So nonetheless, they found themselves in Village 5, but they're just happy enough that they were able to escape Port-au-Prince and all the destruction and the lack of opportunities there. So there was a group of us that came from all over the country, UUs of course, that participated on this journey. Most of the folks were from Florida, a couple from Syracuse, New York, one from Atlanta, Georgia. And so there were 15 of us that went on this journey together. And so as you can see, this was the before shot at our hotel in Port-au-Prince. And please don't be bothered by the guns in the background. We didn't actually have to use them. And they weren't ours. They were just part of the decor at the hotel we were staying at, all right? So unless you start raising up in arms about this, that's where that picture came from. And afterwards, this is the after shot. So by the end of the week, this is the picture that we took together. And as you may notice, the person on the front actually broke her wrist as well, similar to Jim Lamont, I guess. And we had to rush her to a Haitian hospital, but that's another story entirely. So remind me to tell you this story at another point. But today, we're going to be focusing mostly on what work we actually did in Haiti. And this was to build a sustainable farming system, because all the villagers needed to eat, of course. So we want to know where their food came from, because the theme for the month of November is on Ethical eating, that's right. Yep. So we're going to be talking about how to build a sustainable farm in Haiti. Number one has to prepare the soil, right? How many of you have a garden in your backyard, by the way? Oh, only a handful of you. Well, those of you who are gardeners probably know that other than going to City Mill or Home Depot to get your soil, this is another way to do it, which is to make it yourself. And it's a very delicate and careful balance because you don't want to have too much nutrient in there, but you don't want it to be too bland either. And you don't want it to be too rocky and too sandy, and you don't want it to be too soily either. I don't know if those are all the technical terms for it. I'm sure you gardeners know what I'm talking about. But you have to have just the right mix, yeah? So the first thing we did was we prepared the soil, and we dug up some actual soil from the vicinity. And then the next thing we needed to add in there was fertilizer. So what's there a lot of in Haiti? Cows, right? And what do cows produce? Cow dung, cow manure, right? So this is a picture of us beating the crap out of the cow dung, right? And so you'll see us using wood. I know, seems like very primitive ways of pounding cow dung, but nonetheless, all of us took up a stick and we just started pounding away. Let me tell you, if you ever find yourself angry, like if you were upset about the Ferguson decision, for example, just pick up one of those sticks and start pounding cow dung. It's very cathartic, I tell you. So that's what I actually did the first day, is I participated in this. And it's actually very grueling and tiring work, and it gave me a great new level of appreciation for the amount of manual labor that went into it. Let me tell you what, I almost busted a sweat. That doesn't even happen to me at 24 Fitness. So I was staring at myself looking at, what's all this wet stuff around me? So anyway, so this is, it's what's called sugarcane compost. So in other parts where they didn't have as much cow manure available, they actually started composting the leftovers from the sugarcane after they processed it. And these are some of the kids helping us out. So yes, we did employ child labor as well during this process. And the third part is sand. And by Village 1, there's actually this river, and so the sand comes from the river over there. So if you put all those elements together, you'll end up with 3 parts soil that has been sifted, 2 parts manure or compost that has also been sifted, and 1 part sand. So you mix it all together, and voila, that's what you end up with, yeah? And so those are all our tools at the end of the day after our hard work out in, pounding and sifting and doing all kinds of things to prepare the soil. The second thing you need are tires. Now, some of you may be thinking to yourself, what would you need tires in a garden for? Well, that's a very interesting question, because tires have an interesting history in association with Haiti. And I'm sorry, but this was the only G-rated picture I could find online. But several of the previous presidents / dictators, in order to teach their opposition a lesson, put what's known as a tire necklace on certain people that they don't like. And they fill up the necklace with gasoline, and they light these people up on fire while they're still alive. Like I said, some of these images that you could find online are just so what's that word? Horrifying. And I can't even bear to look at it. But so from Aristide to Papa Doc and Baby Doc, this practice has been done in Haiti. So Chauvin thought, rather than using the tire as an instrument for death, how can we reclaim it so that it becomes a symbol for life and so that it brings new life to people? And so there's a lot of used tires that used to just be all around Haiti. And rather than just burn them, what they decide to do on your picture on the image to the left is use a machete and cut around the edge of the tire, and you'll end up with the picture on the right. After that, you invert it so that you get more surface area, and then you put a piece of plywood or something on the bottom of it so that the soil would stay put, and what you end up with are raised tire gardens. Because raised gardens retain moisture a lot better, so you don't have to water it as much, and it also gives you extra surface area to grow your plants on. So the next part is to water the seeds. Some of you may be wondering, where did they get their water from? Well, most of the villages have a well. And you want to take a wild guess as to how they find out where to dig for the well? Not a water widget on their app on their smartphones. Close guess though. And not a GPS either, but yes, a divining rod. Did I call it dowsing? Dowsing, yeah, I'm sorry. That's another process entirely. But so dowsing and putting two sticks together. So it's interesting to see this ancient practice, I guess, still being employed. So the well that you see that they're staring at in the middle of that frame there was the well that they originally dug for Village 6. But a couple months later, they actually found out that it was too shallow, that well has become dry now. So they had to find another place to dig, and that's that PVC pipe to your right. So when we left, they were still in the process of moving that well from one place to the other. Even though it's only 5 feet away, supposedly, that's where new water can be found. And to your right is the image of actual water tanks that they have in Village 1. So Village 1, actually being the most developed village, has water running into everybody's homes. So they don't have to go with their buckets to fetch the water at the well in the morning like most of the other villages do. And I tell you, it made me have a great appreciation for being able to just turn on water where I live. Witnessing all this take place. And the thing I was looking forward to coming home the most was taking a hot shower. And so one of the simple pleasures in life. And this is the other place where they actually get water. And you'll also notice some people bathing in the background, as well as the rainbow. So Hawaii's the only place, not the only place in the world where they have beautiful rainbows. They have them in Haiti too. And this was a human-made lake that they also turned into a dam. And on the other side of it are fish ponds that they raise fish in to eat and sell as well. And so that's another place where water comes from. And finally, of course, one does the planting, right? So that's our last day. We were there. We planted these seedlings that eventually turned into cabbages and bell peppers and other kinds of plants. So one may say at this point, that's great, but overall, the situation still seems rather bleak. Where does one draw one's hope from? And it reminds me of that song we sang at the Interfaith Thanksgiving service on Tuesday. Come sing a song with me, right? The chorus goes, and I'll give you hope when hope is hard to find. And so, where can we find hope in Haiti? And where did we find hope in the Strip? So, not only were they able to grow enough food to feed the entire community, they're also able to sell some of them and can some of them. So these are organic peanut butter from papai, from Ench, right? That they grow them and sell themselves. And also, while we were there, we were also trying to increase the level of literacy, because we all know that knowledge equals power. And so one of our trip participants actually spoke Creole, believe it or not, Haitian Creole. And she was reading to them this book by an author who was a Haitian refugee who now lives in Florida. So it's kind of like exporting a book, but then importing it back to the native country. And so it's quite amazing, actually, how all these connections work. And so after these kids were so eager to learn from Donna, this woman who's reading to them, they were then able to read to their parents, and their parents then got excited about reading. And finally, we just left them with the book to say that here's an activity that the entire family can engage in together. So from reading, we're able to get them excited about going to schools. So this is the school that was recently built where all the village kids from all 6 villages went to. And it was quite exciting that when we were there, we were able to teach them as well. Guess what English song we were able to teach them? The Hokey Pokey. That's right. So we were all able to put our right foot in and put our right foot out, and we shook it all about, baby. All there at that school in Haiti. So that was quite exciting. And here's some of us sitting in the classroom. And there were just several stories that I could go on and on, but the one person that comes to my mind when I think of the word hope is this guy by the name of Mok Sam, who was educated with MPP and taught in the ways of sustainable farming. And he had enough money to buy a home himself where he modeled for the entire community what it would be like to grow your own food. And so this is him in his own backyard holding up some compost, again from sugarcane leftovers. And he sells them on Facebook now. All over the world, people want to buy Mok Sam's compost. So isn't that quite amazing that here's just this one guy, and here's what his house now looks like. As you could tell, he also has the tire gardens, and he got his neighbors so turned on by it that within just a period of 4 or 5 years, 200 villagers now have copied him in terms of the tire garden. So just out of one person, hope is spread. But don't get me wrong, this is all hard work. And all our participants have had to face their greatest fears, and they have had to come to terms with the emotions from dealing with such poverty around. And not to mention these 8-legged creatures that were crawling around in several of our bedrooms. So I kid you not, just the first night that we were there, you could hear 5 of us screaming like girls, myself included, when we saw this in the co-program leader's closet. It's a tarantula. No, it's not a cane spider, everyone. And they're actually poisonous. But after a while, you get to know them, and you get to find out that, you know what, they're just all over the place, and there's a special Creole name for them, and fear not, right? Easy for me to say. So that's the bottom line. And I just want to end with saying that, Haiti continues to have so much need. And we want to thank the UU Services Committee, the UU College of Social Justice, all the trip participants, to bring a little bit of hope to them. And what amazed me the most was the level of gratitude that the people had. We should be the ones thanking them for opening our eyes to what justice work is like and learning so much about farming and building sustainable communities. But instead, they were the ones giving us thanks. So in this instance, all I could say is we continue to covet your good thoughts to Haiti and continue to covet your goodwill and whatever we can all do to continue to spread hope throughout the world. Maybe so.